my fiancée declared, expecting me to wait. I sold our house and moved across the country. A week later, she regretted everything. I never thought I'd be writing this post, but I need to get this off my chest. Maybe someone out there can learn from my experience, or at least find some comfort knowing they're not alone in facing betrayal. I'm 32, a software engineer working for a tech firm in Boston. 4 years ago, I met Vanessa at my college friend's birthday party. She was beautiful, ambitious, and we clicked instantly. She worked in marketing for a competing tech company, and we bonded over industry jokes and shared goals. Within 6 months, we were living together and life was good. We complemented each other perfectly, or so I thought. I was methodical and measured. She was spontaneous and creative. We pushed each other out of our comfort zones and grew together. After 3 years, I proposed at the Japanese garden where we had our first real date. She cried, said yes, and we started planning our future. We bought a house together in a nice Boston suburb. I put down 80% of the down payment from my savings and an inheritance from my grandfather, but we agreed to split the mortgage payments. The house needed work, and we spent weekends painting walls and refinishing floors. It was our project, our future. Looking back, I should have seen the warning signs. Vanessa occasionally mentioned her ex, Ryan. They dated on and off through college and briefly after graduation. She'd casually drop him into conversations. Ryan and I used to go to this restaurant, or Ryan would have hated this movie. I never thought much of it. Past relationships shape us, right? I didn't realize how much emotional space he still occupied in her life until I found her scrolling through his social media one night. She quickly closed the app when she noticed me watching. When I asked about it, she shrugged it off as idle curiosity. I trusted her, so I let it go, a decision I would come to regret. About 6 months before our wedding, Ryan moved back to Boston after a few years on the West Coast. I remember the day Vanessa told me. Her voice sounded strained, trying too hard to be casual. You'll never guess who's moving back to Boston. Ryan got a job at Vertex Media. I nodded and asked if she'd heard from him directly. Just through mutual friends, she said quickly. Too quickly, I realize now. Suddenly, Vanessa began working late more often. Her phone would ping with notifications that she'd quickly dismiss. She became protective of her devices, small changes that I noticed but dismissed. Once I picked up her phone to check the time while mine was charging, and she practically lunged across the room to take it from me. Another time, I came home early from work and found her quickly ending a call looking flustered. When I asked who it was, she said, "Just a client." Her eyes didn't meet mine. Wedding planning started strong. Vanessa created Pinterest boards and contacted vendors with enthusiasm. Then, gradually, her interest seemed to fade. She'd reschedule cake tastings, forget to call florists back, push venue decisions to next week. I assumed she was stressed with work, and she was, but in concerning ways. She'd started missing client meetings, something that had never happened before. Twice I overheard her supervisor calling with concerns about presentation quality. One evening, she snapped at me for interrupting her while she frantically redid a campaign proposal she'd apparently botched earlier that day. Her usual meticulous attention to detail was slipping, replaced with distraction and carelessness. When I suggested she might need to cut back on hours or talk to her boss, she became defensive and changed the subject. One Saturday, we planned to meet with wedding caterers. 15 minutes after our appointment time, Vanessa texted that she'd been called into an emergency meeting with a client. I apologized to the caterer and rescheduled. Later that day, while walking through the public garden to clear my head, I saw Vanessa sitting on a bench with a man I didn't recognize. They weren't touching, but their body language was intimate, leaning toward each other, completely absorbed in conversation. My instinct was to approach them, but something held me back. Instead, I took a photo from a distance and walked away, sick to my stomach. That night, I casually asked how the client emergency went. She launched into a detailed story about a marketing campaign gone wrong and how she'd saved the day. The lie flowed effortlessly from her, complete with details about the client's reaction and the solution she'd proposed. I showed her the photo. She froze, then claimed he was a colleague helping her work through the campaign issues. I pretended to believe her, but that night I checked our phone records. Dozens of calls and texts to the same number, often late at night or when I was at work. 8 months into our engagement, everything changed. I came home from work on a Thursday evening to find Vanessa sitting at our kitchen island, staring into a glass of wine. The air felt heavy. She barely acknowledged me when I walked in, unusual for her. "Everything okay?" I asked, setting down my laptop bag. She took a deep breath, wouldn't meet my eyes. "We need to talk, Mark." My stomach tightened. No good conversation ever started with those words. "I've been doing a lot of thinking," she continued, her voice steady but distant. "I think we need to take a break." The kitchen seemed to tilt around me. "A break? What do you mean?" She finally looked up. "I've been feeling confused lately about the wedding." "Where is this coming from? If you're stressed about wedding planning, we can scale back." "It's not the planning," she interrupted. I've been talking to Ryan again." The name hung in the air between us. "We've been meeting for coffee, just as friends at first, but—" She twisted her engagement ring. "I realized I have unresolved feelings for him. Things ended so abruptly when he moved away. I never got closure." My mind raced, trying to process what she was saying. All those late nights, the guarded phone, the client emergencies. It clicked into place with sickening clarity. "I need some time to explore these feelings," she continued, as if discussing a weekend trip rather than detonating our relationship. "I'm not saying it's over between us. I just need to be sure before we get married." I sat perfectly still, my face carefully blank while my world collapsed. "How long have you been seeing him?" I asked, my voice surprisingly calm. "A few months, but nothing physical has happened," she added quickly. "I wouldn't cheat on you." Technically, perhaps. Emotionally, she'd been gone for months. Then came the kicker. "Ryan's coming to visit next weekend. I'd appreciate some space while he's here." She wanted me to vacate our house, the house I'd primarily paid for, so she could explore things with her ex-boyfriend. And she expected me to wait patiently while she decided which man she preferred. I looked at her, this woman I'd planned to marry, and felt nothing but a cold clarity washing over me. "I understand," I said simply. Relief flooded her face. She hadn't expected it to be this easy. "Thank you for being so understanding," she said, reaching for my hand. "This is just something I need to do before I can fully commit to marriage." I nodded, squeezed her hand once, then let go. That night while Vanessa slept, I made a list. I knew exactly what needed to be done. This wasn't about revenge, it was about self-preservation and self-respect. The next morning, I called in sick to work and contacted a real estate attorney. I needed to understand my options regarding the house. Since the deed had both our names, but I'd contributed the bulk of the down payment, things were complicated. The attorney advised documenting everything and moving quickly. Next, I called Emma, a realtor I'd been in contact with 6 months earlier when we'd briefly considered upgrading to a larger property. We toured several homes and discussed market conditions extensively before deciding to stay put. Emma had impressed me with her market knowledge and efficiency. The Boston housing market was even hotter now than it had been then, and she confirmed we could move quickly. After hearing my situation, a sanitized version, she assured me we could list within days and likely get significantly above asking price. She could have a photographer over by Monday and already had potential buyers in mind. I called my investment manager and discussed liquidating some positions to ensure financial flexibility. I updated my resume and started applying to positions in California, where our company had offices. The tech scene in San Francisco had always interested me. Over the weekend, while Vanessa visited her parents, a convenient story that gave her time with Ryan, I suspected, I meticulously photographed and inventoried everything in the house. I documented what belonged to each of us with receipts where available. I packed her personal items carefully, clothes, jewelry, mementos, everything that was clearly hers, and rented a climate-controlled storage unit. I paid for 6 months in advance and kept the receipt. Monday morning, the photographer came. Tuesday, our house was listed. By Friday, we had multiple offers, the highest being $75,000 over asking price. I accepted it. That same day, I received a job offer from our San Francisco office, with a promotion and salary increase. I arranged to start in 3 weeks, giving me time to handle the house sale and move my essential belongings. Vanessa had been suspiciously quiet all week, presumably preparing for Ryan's visit. She assumed I was giving her space to think. In reality, I was dismantling our life together with surgical precision. The day before Ryan's scheduled arrival, I changed the locks, left the new key and the storage unit information in an envelope with her name at the front desk of her office building, and flew to San Francisco to apartment hunt. I booked a luxury hotel for the interim and signed a lease on a high-rise apartment with views of the bay by day 3. Saturday afternoon, my phone exploded with notifications. Vanessa had returned home with Ryan to find her key didn't work and a stranger's car in our driveway. The realtor was hosting an open house. "Where are you?" her first text read. "What's going on? Why are there people in our house?" "Mark, answer me right now. Why can't I get in?" "Did you change the locks?" "The realtor says our house is sold. This isn't funny." I waited until evening to respond. "Check the envelope at the front desk of your building. Your things are safe in storage. The house sale closes in 30 days. I've accepted a position in San Francisco. Good luck with Ryan." The response was immediate. "You can't do this. It's my house too." "Check your email. You'll find documentation of my 80% contribution to the down payment, along with the equity division proposed by my attorney. It's generous." The phone rang immediately. I let it go to voicemail. She called 17 more times. When I finally listened to her messages, they ranged from rage to pleading to threats. She'd speak to an attorney. She'd fight me for the house. She'd tell everyone what I'd done. Then, in later messages, she begged me to reconsider, saying we could work things out, that she'd made a mistake. I flew back to Boston briefly to sign paperwork and arrange the final details. Vanessa demanded we meet. I agreed to coffee at a neutral location. She arrived looking both furious and panicked. Ryan was conspicuously absent. "How could you do this without talking to me?" she demanded, sliding into the booth. "You can't just sell our house and move across the country." "Where's Ryan?" I asked calmly. She flushed. "That's not relevant. We're talking about you making major decisions without consulting me. Like the decision to explore things with your ex-boyfriend." She had the grace to look embarrassed. "That was different. I was honest with you. And I'm being honest now. I'm moving to San Francisco. The house has sold. You'll receive your fair share of the equity." "But what about us?" Her voice cracked. "I just needed time to be sure." "You made your choice, Vanessa. I've made mine." "Ryan's gone," she blurted out. "It was a mistake. I realized how much I love you." I studied her face, the face I'd woken up to for years, that I'd imagined growing old with. I felt nothing but a dull ache. "Where did Ryan go?" I asked. "Back to his apartment. Things got complicated when we couldn't get into the house." She hesitated, then continued reluctantly. "He said I'd misinterpreted everything between us, that he was just looking for closure too, maybe some fun, but he never wanted to restart our relationship. When I told him I'd risked my engagement for him, he actually laughed and said that was my choice, not his responsibility." She looked away, the humiliation fresh on her face. "He told me he's seeing someone else already, someone he met before reconnecting with me." Of course, men like Ryan never do sign up for consequences. "I'm sorry it didn't work out," I said, meaning it, "but I'm not coming back." "You're punishing me," she accused, tears forming. "This is cruel." "No," I corrected her. "This is consequence. I hope you find what you're looking for, Vanessa. It's just not with me." "Please, Mark, I made a terrible mistake. We can start over, go to counseling, rebuild trust." "The house is sold. I've signed a lease in San Francisco. My new job starts in 2 weeks. She wiped at her tears, smearing her mascara. "So that's it. 4 years together and you just walk away." "You walked away first, Vanessa. You just expected me to wait around while you decided if I was your first or second choice." I left her sitting there, walked out into the Boston spring, and didn't look back. The fallout came swiftly. Our social circle fractured, but most friends sided with me once they learned the truth. Several confessed they'd seen Vanessa with Ryan at restaurants or coffee shops, but hadn't known how to tell me. My closest friend, Alex, admitted he'd spotted them leaving a hotel together weeks before her confession, contradicting her claim that nothing physical had happened. Professionally, the consequences for Vanessa were unexpected but significant. The professional issues I'd noticed before our breakup had apparently accelerated dramatically. The major client she'd been courting for months, the one whose proposal she'd been redoing that night, had walked away entirely. 2 other clients followed suit after delayed campaigns and missed deadlines. Her company placed her on a performance improvement plan, something unthinkable for someone with her previous track record. When questioned about her sudden performance decline, she'd broken down in a meeting with leadership, creating an uncomfortable scene that quickly became industry gossip. Meanwhile, Ryan had indeed vanished from the picture. not because of my departure, but because he'd never intended to stay. According to mutual friends, he'd been seeing someone else even while reconnecting with Vanessa, using her for emotional support and validation while building a relationship with a gallery owner he'd met shortly after returning to Boston. The reduced equity from the house sale, despite my fair division, meant she'd had to downsize to a small apartment across town. Between the housing change and her crumbling career, Vanessa's carefully constructed life was disintegrating. Former colleagues described her as a shell of herself, unfocused and bitter in professional settings, further damaging her reputation in our tight-knit industry. Meanwhile, I settled into San Francisco life. My promotion came with new responsibilities that kept me challenged and engaged. My apartment in North Beach offered views I'd only dreamed of in Boston. I joined a hiking group and started rock climbing on weekends, activities Vanessa had always dismissed as boring. I found a therapist who specialized in relationship trauma and did the work to heal. Vanessa reached out several times over subsequent months. First angry emails, then tearful voicemails, finally apologetic texts. I responded politely but briefly to practical matters and ignored the emotional pleas. She'd made her decision clear. I was honoring it. 6 months after moving, a former colleague visited San Francisco for a conference. Over dinner, she updated me on Boston gossip. Vanessa had been let go from her position. The performance issues had continued, compounded by increasingly inappropriate behavior, arguing with clients, missing critical deadlines, showing up visibly hungover to important presentations. What had once been a promising career lay in ruins. Almost exactly 1 year after moving to San Francisco, I attended a mutual friend's wedding back in Boston. I'd considered declining, but decided I wouldn't allow the past to dictate my choices. I was chatting with old friends during the reception when I felt a presence beside me. Vanessa looked different, thinner, with dark circles under her eyes poorly concealed by makeup. Her dress hung loosely on her frame. Her smile seemed forced. "You look good," she said, her voice smaller than I remembered. "Thank you, how have you been?" "Managing," she said. "It's been difficult." An uncomfortable silence stretched between us. "I heard you're doing well in San Francisco," she continued. "Big promotion, new apartment." I nodded. "It's been a good change." "I tried to find work out there, you know." She swirled her champagne nervously. "Thought maybe we could, but the interviews didn't go well. Word has spread about my professional issues." "Mark," she started, then paused to gather herself. "I made the biggest mistake of my life. I threw away something real for a fantasy. Ryan was." She trailed off, shaking her head. "It doesn't matter. I just wanted you to know I understand now what I lost." I studied her face and felt only a distant sadness for the pain she'd caused us both. "I hope you find happiness, Vanessa. I really do." "Are you seeing anyone?" she asked, her voice careful. I thought of Hannah, the UX designer I'd been dating for 2 months. It was early days, but promising, built on honest communication and mutual respect. "I am," I said simply. "It's new but good." Pain flashed across her face before she masked it. "She's lucky to have you." "I'm lucky too," I replied. "I learned a lot this past year about what I want and need in a relationship." She nodded, blinking back tears. "I wish I'd realized what I had before I threw it away." The band started playing a slow song. I finished my drink. "Take care of yourself, Vanessa." Walking away, I felt no triumph in her unhappiness, no satisfaction in her regret. The best revenge wasn't anything I did to her. It was building a better life for myself, one where her choices couldn't hurt me anymore. 3 years have passed since that wedding encounter. San Francisco is truly home now. Hannah and I got married last fall in a small ceremony overlooking the Golden Gate Bridge. My company's IPO was successful, and we're considering buying a house in Marin County. I still think about Vanessa occasionally, not with anger or bitterness, but with a kind of distant gratitude. Her betrayal forced me to stand up for myself, to value my own happiness above others' expectations. In the painful unraveling of what we'd built, I found strengths I didn't know I possessed. I heard from a mutual friend that Vanessa eventually found a position at a smaller agency, rebuilding her career from the ground up. She sought treatment for depression and alcohol use. I genuinely hope she's found some measure of peace and stability. Sometimes the end of something you thought was forever becomes the beginning of something better than you could have imagined. It's not about getting even. It's about moving forward with the knowledge that you deserve more than you were willing to accept. And that's a lesson worth every painful step of the journey.